my YouTube channel in the Microeconomics segment Material Producer Behavior Theory. In the last video, we have to discuss about the consumer behavior theory, and now we will discuss about from the producer side. The producer behavior theory, or in various other references, is also called the theory of production. Is an act of producer in producing goods and or services to get the maximum possible profit by using a combination of production factors they have. Maximum profitability can also be done by reducing production costs or choosing a combination of the use of production factor with the smallest total production cost. Production theory in microeconomics theory is discussed using two approaches, like the consumer behavior theory. Nah, the two approaches is namely the one variable input approach and two variable input approach. First, we will discuss the theory of production with the one variable input approach. The production function is a function that shows the relationship between the combined level of input use and the level of output. The production function is an equation, tabel, or graphic that shows the maximum amount of output a company can produce per time period by using a combination of input or factor production or production factor. The value of the product, or we can call it output, that produced depend on the value of the production factor sacrificed or expended by the producer in the production process. Mathematically, it can be written as follows. Then, where G is the output, F is a function, and x1, x2, and other are production input such as raw materials, labor, and others. The addition of production input will increase the amount of production. Action that can increase production in the following way is: first, increase the number of one of the used input, or second, increase the number of some of the input used in the production process. Expansion of production means expanding and increasing production, which is meant to increase the product both quantitatively and qualitatively. A quantitative increase can mean an increase in the number of products, while a qualitative addition means an increase in the type and quality of better production. There are several reasons for the expansion of production, include: first, due to human needs that continue to develop both quantitatively and qualitatively. The development of human needs that occur is caused by the population that is increasing from time to time and the development of science and technology, art, and human civilization. Second, because there are items that are getting damaged, obsolete, missing, or destroyed, so they need to be replaced or added with new items. Third, because of the human desire to always increase their property and standard living. Production expansion can be done in two ways, including extensification and intensification. Expansion with extensification is the expansion of production by adding new production units such as adding labor, land, building, production machine, and so on. Meanwhile, intensification of expansion is the expansion of production which is carried out by increasing the productivity of the existing production factor in each production unit, such as division of labor, increasing work skill and experience, counseling to farmer, improving management, replacing more sophisticated machine, and so on. Producer apply a law known as the Law of Diminishing Returns, which states that if one type of input is added to the amount of use while the number of other input is fixed, then each additional 1 unit of input will produce an additional output, so that the output will be increased. But if the input is continuously added, the output will be decreased. The law of diminishing production states that the relationship between the level of production and the amount of input used can be divided into 3 stages of production. Namely, the first stage shows us that the condition the total production is increasing rapidly. Second is the second stage that shows us about the total production has increased but slowly. The third stage condition shows us about the production has increased but decreasingly. The composition of production factor will minimize production costs, so producer needs to pay attention to the amount of payment to additional production factor that will be used, and the amount of increase in sales generated by the added production factor. For example, if an additional unit of production factor A cost is 25,000 rupiah with an additional output of 30,000 rupiah, while one additional unit in production factor B requires a production cost of 50,000 rupiah with an additional output of 30,000 rupiah, so the producer will choose to increase the number of production factor B because the costs incurred are lower with the additional sales result equal to the result created by factor A. Because of that, production must uphold the principle taking additional units of production factor at the cost per rupiah will result in the maximum additional sales value. Several definitions of the production function, namely TPP, APP, and MPP. There are TPP, or total physical product, is the number of product or output that result from using a number of inputs. You can see the mathematical function below. Then the second is APP, or average physical product, is the average result per unit of variable input used to produce the output. Then you can see the mathematical function here. And the last is MPP, or marginal physical product, is the amount of additional output caused by the addition of one additional variable input used. Then you can see the mathematical function here. The relationship between the input, or X, minus output, or key, equal function of X. The relationship causes various events, including the first is constant return. Constant return, which is the condition of adding one input variable that increases output but at a constant marginal product level. The second is increasing return, the addition of one variable input that is able to increase total production and increase in marginal product. The third is decreasing return. Decreasing return is the addition of one variable input that shows the marginal product will decrease, even though there is an increase in the total product. Nah, the relationship between MPP, or marginal physical product, and TPP, or total physical product, can be explained by 1. TPP will continue to show an increase, or there is an increase in output with each increase in input as long as the MPP value is positive, so that the relationship between input and output is unidirectional at MPP or equal positive. 2. TPP will reach its maximum amount when MPP equals 0. And 3. If the MPP equal negative, then the TPP will decrease. This situation will reduce the amount of production, so that the relationship between labor input and TPP at MPP is opposite, or if MPP equal negative. The next is MPP relationship with APP can be explained by APP is the ratio between TPP and total input. It can be formulated as follows. Thus, MPP's relationship with APP can be explained as follows. First, if MPP more than APP, then APP position tends to increase. Second, if MPP less than APP, then APP position tends to decline. And the last, if MPP equal APP, then APP position is in maximum states. Nah, okay, we have finished discussing the theory of production with one variable input. Now we turn to the production theory with two variable inputs. Factor production that can change are the amount of labor and the amount of capital or mean use. The production function can be stated. In this production factor, it is known that the level of production can change by changing the labor factor or L and or the amount of capital or K. The company have two alternatives if it wants to increase the production level. Company can increase production by increasing labor or increasing capital or increasing labor and capital. Then isoquant or the same production curve is a point of combination between two inputs or two variables that can be used to produce the same number of certain outputs. Meanwhile, the isoquant curve or isoproduct curve is a curve that shows the various possible technical combinations between two input or variables that are open to producer to produce a certain level of output. The use of the isoquant is to determine the least cost combination, which is a combination the use of inputs or production variable to produce a certain level of output with minimum total cost. To determine the combination, we will need three data in it. There are, first, isoquant for desired output level. Second, input price or the first variable, and the third is input price or the second variable. In fact, a producer has several isoquant curves that describe the level of production which is graded in quantity. This collection of several isoquant curves can be called an isoquant map. Manufacturers certainly hope to optimize the level of production in their companies. However, the desire of the producer is limited by the budget owned by the company. The company budget line in production theory is represented by iso-cost. Iso-cost or the same cost curve is a curve that connects the combination of points of the use of one input and other input, which is based on the availability of the same amount of cost. Thus, iso-cost indicates the possible combination of the use of several inputs which use the same number of certain costs. Iso-cost describes a combination of production factors that can be obtained using a certain amount of costs that have been provided. To be able to create an equal cost line or iso-cost, the following data are needed. There are 1. The price of the production factor to be used, and second, the amount of money available to pay or to buy the production factor. The equilibrium of producer can be shown by the equal production curve or isoquant and the equal cost line curve or iso-cost that intersect each other on a curve. Merging the two curves can be explained. Things are follow. First, the maximum production that will be obtained if the amount of expenditure to finance production has been determined. And second, minimum cost that will be incurred if the amount of production to be achieved has been determined. Okay, that's all about the basic from the producer behavior theory, and we will meet again in the next video about the curve on the producer behavior theory. Nah, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching all the video in Class Economy YouTube channel. See you in the next video. Nah, don't forget to like, comment, and also subscribe this Class Economy YouTube channel. And see you in the next video. Bye.